Okay, so for today, we're actually going to be discussing about two civilization, the Islamic and the Indian civilization. Okay, so let's start off first the Indian civilization. Now, like I've always been mentioning about civilization, the Indian civilization started off with the Indus River. Now, the Indus River is now part of Pakistan, and we always remember that India used to be. They're actually composed of a lot of countries right now of that makes up the old Indian civilization. You have Sri Lanka, then you have also Pakistan, and then the whole India subcontinent. Okay, now the two dominant cities back then was Harappa and then Mohenjo-daro. And if you're going to look here, this is your Indus River. Now let's go directly to the different contributions and the persons or personalities when it comes to Indian civilization. So the first one was a super intelligent Indian. We call his name is Aryabhata. He actually contributed a lot when it comes to mathematics because he came up with the symbol of zero, and it also contributed to addition and subtraction as well. Okay, and then the concept of zero actually integrated also the different place value system that allowed us to utilize it as we know or as we have it today. Okay, so we have now because of that we have the different decimal systems. Okay, as you can see here. Okay, and then uh, which also gave way to the notation, and it allowed us to do a lot of calculations also. Then at the same time, they also used number symbols or notation to signify the values of 1 to 9. Okay? So, kumbaga sa, ano ba yung, wait lang. So, if in case you're gonna be writing, let's say, kaya siya number one because may isang angle dun na 1. Okay? Because of the presence of the 1 there, yung angle na yon that means 1. So, yung number 2 is originally written as like a letter Z. Then, number 3, gaganon lang siya. Okay? So yun, so tatlong sides. Then so on and so forth. Then later on, this was actually adopted by the Arabs and they call it the Hindi system. And we now normally call it as the Hindu-Arabic system. So it was originally uh, developed by the Indians or the Hindus. Then it was spread out by the Arabics or the Arabs rather or the Arab traders particularly. Okay. Then another one is Fibonacci numbers, which is actually a sequence that appeared in the Indian mathematics. Teka, palitan lang natin yung color. Akala ko napalitan ko na yan noon pa. Hindi ko makita eh. Yan. Okay. So that is Matru Meru. Okay. Now this is actually mentioned by Pingala in the methods of formation of these numbers. Now this was also the one that was mentioned also by other mathematicians like Virahanka, Gopala, and Hemakandra before it was picked out by Fibonacci, which is an Italian mathematician. So what is the Fibonacci number sequence? So if you're going to look here, hindi siya yung typical na system natin na 1 plus 2 gives you 2, but it's more of a different pattern. So if you're going to look here on the design, okay, to make it more symmetric or more appeasing to the eye, it doesn't follow the normal patterns of number system that we have. Same as with the decorations. The actual, if you look at here, this is as an example of a Fibonacci design, and this is not similar or almost similar to the design of a call this a galaxy. Okay, so it's similar to the design of a Milky Way galaxy, as you can see here. Oops, wala si Milky Way, naging chocolate. Yan. So if you're going to look here, it started off from a small, and then it doesn't, the term is not gradual, but it expands dramatically. Yan. And it's almost similar to the pattern also of a rosebud. Ayan, tingnan niyo yung pagbukas ng rosebud. Maliit sa gitna, then palaki siya. And then it's almost similar, if you're going to look it up, and Fibonacci in nature, you're gonna get a lot. So here, ito, if you're going to look the Fibonacci here in the sunflower, yan. And also in the shell, ito perfect na Fibonacci. Similar siya dun sa logo dito ng Fibonacci on top. Okay? So ganyan talaga yung yung sequence niya. Okay? And here are more examples of Fibonacci as well. Pine cone. Oops, let me go back. Sorry. Yan. Tapos yung mismong other plants are showing the same thing. So those are examples of the Fibonacci. Okay? And then also, if you go back here, yung mismong style na lang ni pineapple. Okay? As you can see here, it's not your typical horizontal and vertical alignment, but it's more of a circular path that it's actually designed in a way. Ayan. Ganyan din yung sa pine cone. Okay, so ganun. If you notice today here, although pakabila siya, pa counterclockwise, the design also here is more on counterclockwise, which is similar to the logo on top. Now, another thing is the number system, or particularly a computer language system called the binary system. So it actually refers to the number set of a number set that composed only of 0 or 1, where 1 is a yes and 0 is none. It's actually based on a Vedic scholar's book written by Pingala. The book is Chandahastra, which is the earliest treaty of Parsody, which is actually in English the metric study of poetic meters and verses. Okay, and at the same time, they also have a unit system that allowed them to have exact konto, and they allowed them rather to calculate things quadratically. So if you call your algebra your quadratic systems, this is actually again written off by Brahmagupta. Yeah, this he was actually known mathematician in the 7th century. Okay, then they also have a measurement system which is called the Hasta. Okay, and this was actually due to kaya na reason nalaman nila that they have a particular measuring system because the structures that they have made in ancient Greeks, they were able to see that it has specific sizes, and it is actually exact in terms of measurement of um, inches. Yan. And then at the same time, long before you have John Dalton, you already have Kanad. Kanad made of a lot of theories about the atomic theory. He actually stated that the Anu can have two states, the absolute rest and the state of motion. If you know your physics, you'll somehow know that this is actually true until now. And he also further held that atoms combine together to form what we call diatomic molecules and triatomic molecules. And then you have also again going back to Aryabhata, siya naman yung state about infinity also. I'm not able to include there, but he also stated about the evolution of the planets, and he also believed in the heliocentricity. He believed that the planet is rotating on its axis and it revolves around the sun. And he was able to predict about solar and lunar eclipses as well as distances between Earth and the moon. Now, another one that the Indians are very proud of is coming out what we call the carbon steel or charcoal steel. It was actually believed to be named as the Uku or Hidwani or the Ceric ion. Now, this is actually the one that is used to create the what we call the Damascus steel. Okay, the Damascus steel was so good in making that they can actually slice a falling call this scarf. Usually kasi 'di ba yung mga damit, pag ini-slice mo 'yan o pag nahuhulog sila, they don't get cut right away. Sumasabay sila dun sa wind direction. Pero ito sa sobrang nipis niya at sobrang ganda yung quality niya, they can actually cut through tela. Okay? Yan. So this is almost similar based on the materials that were included. You have their back magnetite, which is actually carbon. Parang siyang carbon steel ngayon na tinatawag. It's a combination of iron and carbon atoms. Then you have also the distillation of zinc. They were able to purify zinc. The one who first attempted to purify zinc was the Persians, but they failed. However, somewhere in um, sometime back in the 12th century, they were able to uh, smelt it. When I say smelt, guys, pinupurify nila yung metal. Then another one is the creation of celestial globe. Ano yung kinaibahan ng celestial globe with the ordinary globe? Yung globe kasi usually guys, when you create globe or anything that is round with metal, nagkakaroon kayo ng junction o yung mga binding joints, yung mga dugtungan, yung pinagwe-weldingan. Yun nga lang, yung ginawa nilang globe was so good that it did not have any um, seams, wala siyang dugtungan. So, which is actually considered as a modern technology. Okay, so para siya talagang bolang bilog talaga na gawa sa bakal. Okay, so this is actually made by Al-Kashmiri ibn Luqman. Yan. During the reign of Emperor Akbar. Then in terms of medicine, we have Shushruta. He wrote the book Sushruta Samhitas, which actually is a textbook on surgery. Okay, he wrote a lot of information in terms of medication for illnesses, preparation of plant for medication, and curing complex diseases. And they also have plastic surgery. Meron silang eye surgery, and they also have nose surgery. Okay, nose, ilong, pango. Okay. And then the history about Sushruta was so great that they even created a monument for him. Okay? So yan si Sushruta, nagpe-perform siya ngayon ng cataract surgery. So they were able to remove cataract. Usually when you say cataract guys, yung protein sa mata, ayan it's either because of the food that we eat, or yung paggamit ng maiinit or masyadong maliwanag na bagay, it tends to cook the eyes, causing it to become cloudy. So imagine mo that during the ancient times, he was able to come up with a way to remove the cataract, yung mismong lenses na nag-solidify na, by cutting into the eyes, removing the actual lens, and then they were able to stitch it up and close it and allow it to heal. So this was actually a very, very pioneering activity during that time. And the process was so good kasi sinusulat nila yan that they were able to, na-export yan sa Arabs by translating into other languages. And that was how it was make well known to the Western world. Then you also have Ayurveda. So even before the birth of Hippocrates, they were able to come up with medicine already. So you have their Charaka. He actually wrote the textbook Chakarmashita, which is a ancient science of Ayurveda. Now, this is actually a part of the Ayurveda. Meron siyang mga writings. So, it included, this is actually the book about the digestion, metabolism, and immunity. and prevention of diseases. Now, since it was a sort of a book, it was able to be translated into foreign languages like Arabic and Latin. And then another one, they have what we call um, the Indian Iron or the Indian rockets. So they were able to develop rockets to fight off the British invaders back then. This was made by the Mysore Indians. They were able to fill iron tubes with gunpowder and then nilagay nila sa bamboo. Ito yan, itsura yun. No? Ito yung mismong yung metal pipes, and then they have the bamboo here, then sisindihan nila yon since puno-puno siya ng gunpowder. Parang luces, parang ganon. Yung mga luces, yung mga yung mini rockets, ganon. And this actually allowed them to defeat the Indian forces back then. Okay? Pero later on, nasakop naman nila yung India. That's why India became part of the British Empire. Okay? So yeah, so that is for the Indian civilization. Okay, so let's go now to the um, Arabic civilization. Okay, so the Islamic civilization was the only civilization that is actually a mixture of different civilization. You might encounter some people, some cultures, some inventions which was actually part of other cultures or other civilizations. Kasi ang nangyari is that when Islam spread all over Arab nations and also part of Europe and so also part of Asia, it actually assimilated also some of the cultures then. So parang inangkin na rin nila yung ibang mga technology. Now, this is the only civilization that did not start off from a body of water, but it actually started off with a particular religion, and that is Islam. Now, the Islamic civilization or the Islam has its own holy prophet whose name is Muhammad, and it has its religious book rather, which is called the Quran. Okay, so it's spelled as Q-U-Ran. Okay, and they have here a very monumental stone called the Kaaba, which is a sacred stone. So Islamic or Muslims tends to go to the Mecca at least once in their lifetime to uh, cleanse their sins by touching the Kaaba. Okay. Now let's go to some of the inventions. But before that, since we're talking about the concept of God, always remember that the Muslims also believe in angels. And it's actual Angel Gabriel for the Catholics and Christians. You know, Angel Gabriel, right? Siya yung nagbigay ng message kay Mary that she is going to conceive. And then Angel Gabriel or Angel Gabriel in Islamic language was the one who announced to Muhammad that he will be also a messenger of God. Okay? Yun nga lang, if they believe in angels, they also believe in devils. Ano sa tingin niyo ang pangalan ng devil sa kanila? Anybody could guess? Pangalan ng devil sa Islam. Kaibigan ni Aladdin. Hala, hindi nila alam si Aladdin? Yung I can show you the wala. VBHN.
Nakalimutan ko, ma'am.
Ala, nakalimutan? Anybody? Wala na ba ibang tao dito?
Yung Muslim
Iblis,
ba yan,
ma'am.
ma'am?
Sino?
Iblis.
Sige, isa lang. Pinka, ano yung sa'yo? Miss Pinka.
Di ko alam kung Arabo yan o parang gano'n.
Ano nga pangalan? Sige, sino yung isa nag-raise ng hand? Si Kabangkala?
Iblis, ma'am.
Ha?
Iblis po ba, ma'am?
Iblis?
Tama ba?
Bilyar?
Si Abu, ma'am.
Si Abu, lumambas. Lumangkas pa yon? Nag-raise ng hand na isa, Lumagbas. John Ivan, anong hula mo? Hala, ano, sino yun? Sino nag-raise ng hand? Sige, Musa.
Ma'am, si Bobcat.
Okay. Sige, wait lang guys ha. 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. 2 minutes lang, 2 minutes. Ay guys, sorry. Natagal ng konti. Thank you for waiting. Okay, so,
Alam ko na ma'am kung sino ma'am.
ano? Sige,
Si ano
Russell.
ma'am, si Jafar ma'am.
Ang layo! Hindi nyo nakuha.
Is it Jean?
Yes, si Jeannie. Okay, yung iba kasi pangalan nun, pero usually, um, sa sa kanila, it's called the jinn. Okay? Kaya nga ang term nun is, some say it's shaitan, pero ang alam ko, it's also known as the jinn. Jinn. Okay? So, it's actually an evil spirit. So, si Genie kaya nga siya nasa loob ng lampara. Kasi siya ay pinarusahan at siya ngayon ay nakakulong doon. Di ba? Ang ano niya is to grant 3 wishes. Okay, naalala niyo yon. And then, si Jafar, mas masama pa sa pinakamasama, sa sobrang gusto niya pinakamataas siya sa lahat, at yung ugali niya ay masama, siya ngayon yung bagong jinn. Siya ang ipinalit doon, 'di ba? Siya yung nakulong ngayon. Okay, so yan. Okay, so naalala ngayon. So yun, that's what they call it. Okay, pwede shaitan, pwedeng jinn. Pero most of the time, it's called the jinn. Okay, now they also have universities, and the oldest universities goes back years before the first three universities opened up in Europe. So you have here actually a picture showing the Ottoman Empire, how they have their classes. So you have their teacher, then you have the students writing down. Parang typical na klase natin. Now, one of the oldest is the University of Al-Qarini in Al-Azhar University. Okay. Now, in terms of culture, they have also chess, their own version of chess. Although yung chess kasi very universal yan eh. A lot of cultures have their own version of the chess. The Japanese chess, the Chinese chess, di ba? Games of generals is similar also. Then the Persians, yan. And then you have also ceramic items, yan. And potteries. Then in terms of architecture, they have the mosque. Now, one thing to remember about the mosque is actually they employ the combination of Roman architecture and Greek arches. So if you notice on the bottom, you will see that it has their Corinthian columns. Okay, Corinthian yan, di ba? If you recall yung pinag-aaralan natin sa Greeks. And then this one. So this is actually, pag nakita nyo na yan, kasama yan, you'll already consider this as a part of Islamic culture or Islamic civilization. Then you also have yan, Taj Mahal. The Taj Mahal was actually built by the Raja Taj in India for his favorite wife. Yan, burial lang yan, libingan lang yan, ikaw na ang pinakamagandang babae sa mata ng hari, nung Raja. Ayan, isang burial area lang yan. Okay? And usually you have spires that actually included in the design. Now, if you will notice that the structure for Arabic, they have the dome. Okay? Which we'll discuss in a few minutes. Now, aside from that one, let me just go back. Ayan na yung dome. Balikan natin. I forgot to mention about this one. Yan. Yung mga gantong design was actually also incorporated by the Renaissance. Again, you have the column. Although hindi na siya yung katulad ng regular arches that was included, but the fact that they're using this kind of method, this is Arabic in nature. Okay, this is actually can be seen also. This is in Alhambra Palace in Spain. Spain was the only European country that was under the Muslim uh, control. Hindi na sila nakalampas ng Spain. Okay, kasi yun yung ano nila, gateway nila towards Europe. Hindi sila nakalampas because mas malalakas na yung mga kalaban nila. And later on, nabawi ng Spain yung area nila. Kaya nga if you will notice, majority of the Europeans have lighter skin, blonde hair, blue eyes. But if you're going to notice most of, not exactly 100%, but the other Spaniards have darker skin and darker hair. Example, Antonio Banderas is a Spaniard. Penelope Cruz is also Spaniard, but their color, the hair color, is not quite similar to the others in Europe, like the blonde hair, the brown hair, the red hair, yan, because of the influence or assimilation of the Arabic culture. Okay, so here now we're talking about the domes. So this is actually a yung dome nila is different in terms of the structure kasi yung mismong dome, if you go back to um, sa Greek, is bilog na bilog siya. Okay, sa kanila it's medyo half or parang Pinipina dome siya. So you have the example is the central dome of Hagia Sophia, and then also the dome of Calendrahone Mosque. Yan. Okay. Then you have also Mokarnas. And so you have their ornaments that are based on geometric designs to give you what we call the honeycomb shape or stalactite comb. So here's an example of a Mukarnas to vault. Yan. Okay. Yung mga shapes na included to come up with the design. Yan. Then you have also the giri. So this is an Islamic decorative art that is used for tapestry, for book covers, objects. Yung kaninang tabletop yon, kasama yon, ginawa sa giri. Okay. Then the writing system, you have the Kufic script. Then you have also, this is actually how, or the script writing, the ancient Quran script was written off. Then you have also the Bismillah script. And you have also here another one. The Bismillah is actually integrated into the the design of the amulet. Okay. And then in terms of calendar, they have what we call the Jala'ali calendar, which is actually 661 days, 661 years behind. The reason why it's 662 years behind, if I'm not mistaken, is the reason why is that delayed because it was only created after the death of Muhammad, which is 600 years after the Roman calendar. The Roman calendar is actually based on Jesus' death. Okay? Kaya nga start tayo lagi after AD. Kaya tayo is 2022 AD. Sa kanila, kung 2022 tayo, it's actually now, the year now sa kanila is 1401. Yan. Kasi 2021 last year, di ba? So 2022 minus 600 plus. So 1401 pa lang sa kanila. Okay, remember we have the Chinese calendar, we have also the Roman calendar, then you have the Jila'ali calendar, which is the Islamic calendar. Okay, then you have also maps. Now, the first map was the Tabula Roheriana, which we'll discuss later on. This is actually the first map of the world. Okay, this was actually created in around 14th or 16th century, 15th century uh, after Christ. Then in terms of literature, ito na yon. So you have, I mentioned earlier, you have Alibaba, Princess Parisade and the Magic Tree, you have the Magic Carpet, Genie and the Lamp, yan. Alibaba and the Aladdin and the Genie of the Lamp. This is actually all stories under one uh, literary piece, which is the Thousand and One Nights. Okay? So, in the Thousand and One Nights, gumagawa siya ng kwento para hindi siya patayin nitong mama na to kasi wala na siyang tiwala doon sa lahat ng babae sa lupa nila. And if you want to study about this or want to learn about this story again, you can actually Google it up. Medyo mahaba-haba yung story yan kasi nga ang pangalan nga niya is 1001 Nights. So, araw-araw yan hanggang makatapos siya ng 1001 Nights, kinukwentuhan niya yung hari para hindi siya patayin. Okay? So, in mathematics naman, they have geometry symbols. We already discussed this. So, if you will notice, all of the shapes are actually interrelated, intermingled to come up with different patterns. Okay. Now, another branch of mathematics, we have trigonometry, and this is actually all before the sine law was even created. They have already Al-Jayani who made the law of sines. Okay, so remember the law of sines. You have the SOHCAHTOA. Sine angle equals opposite over hypotenuse ideas, diba? Yan. And then you have also the Altusi couple. Yan. So Altusi couple naman is a device in which the small circle actually rotates inside a larger circle twice its diameter. Now, the rotation of the circle causes a point, ito yung nalit na linya na yon, to oscillate back and forth within the linear motion on the diameter of the larger circle. So this is actually considered as a hypocycloid. Okay, so this was proposed around 13th century by a Persian astronomer, Nasir al-Bin al-Tusi. And then this was also later used extensively over based on the works of Ptolemy's Almagest. Then, at the same time, they're also able to discover the Magellanic Cloud. Yan. And they also were able to discover the different, call this, what you call your, ano ba yan? The constellation. So you have there the Sagittarius, the Taurus, the Scorpio, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Scorpio. And then the Fox yata to. Then you have here the Gemini, the Water Bearer. Yan. Ay, the Serpent Carrier rather. Wala nga lang to naging 12 lang kasi 13 is parang tinanggal nila yung Serpent Bearer. Ito. Okay. Then in terms of surgery, they also have uh, Al-Khwarizmi's surgical tools. Then you have also Bano Musa's automation device. Yan, actually in this concept, since it's automation, it's automatically working on its own. I mean, it's moving on its own. Then they also have the ideas about the different phases of the moon via Al-Biruni's astronomical works here. Okay. Then you also have Khalid, which is the first uh, alchemist who studied alchemy in Alexandria. He actually wrote a lot of books, a book of pearls, book of rolls, book small book on roll, and then about uh, wisdom. Yan, son of the craft. So he actually have a lot of textbooks written. Then you have also Jabir, or also known as Jabir ibn Hayyan. Now he is also a scientist in terms of chemistry. He actually did a lot of study about substances like nitric acid, sulfuric acid, sublimation, reduction, distillation, and he also created the alembic and the retort stand. So ito yung mismong alembic ngayon. Ito yung alembic during his time. Okay. Then you have also Al-Batani. He actually was the one who determined the length of a solar year. So yung eksaktong calendar. And it actually also created tables that allowed him to predict the movement of the sun, the moon, and then the actual tables that he created was the one that was used by Copernicus in his fight for heliocentricity. Then you have also Al-Sarkani at this time. He is actually famous for constructing the astrolabe. Okay, this was actually a device that was used for navigation. It has been used for a long, long time. It's for calculation, distance, location, and also for the planets using the diagrams of Ptolemy's model. Then you have Al-Khwarizmi, siya naman yung sa algebra. Okay, yung mga he actually based it on Indian antecedents, equations, and Euclidean geometry. Okay? Then for medicine, ito yung kanyang Islamic name, Ibn Sina. Kaya lang yung mga Europeans, they have a hard time uh, pronouncing it properly. So they just named it as Avicenna. Okay, so this is his Spanish name. So he wrote the Canon of Medicine, and his book was so well accepted all throughout the Western civilization to the point that it was actually used uh, hundreds of years after his death, up to 1800s. Okay? So if you will notice here, he was actually at par. When you say at par, guys, ano yan, kumbaga sa ano, ka-level niya, magkakapantay sila. So you have Galen, which is a Greek philosopher. You have Avicenna, a Muslim textbook, I mean, a doctor of medicine, and Hippocrates, and which you know is the father of medicine. Kumbaga parang ano yan eh, top 3 yan sa mundo ng medicine. And you have also Ibn al-Nafis. He was actually more on pulmonary circulation. Then in terms of optics, kasi nga 'di ba remember you are in a place na pag tumatanda the eyesight tends to become weaker. So they are more on a lot of them tend to contribute more on the eyesight. So you have there Ishak for the 10 treaties of the eye. You have Ibn Firnas for lens. This actually paving the construction of the lenses, yung mga salamin. Then Ibn Sal, he discovered the law of refraction, which is now known as Snell's law. So ibig sabihin, naisip na nila yung mga ideas na to even before the Westerners came up with actual laws that are being accepted right now. Okay? And then you have also Al-Hataim. Okay? Siya naman yung Book of Optics na actually it discredits the Greek philosophy that light does not come from the eyes. It's actually coming from a source. Kasi ang idea no ng mga Greeks is that the light is coming from the eyes. Kumbaga parang laser vision. Lalabas sa mata mo, tapos tatamaan mo yung makikita mo ngayon siya. Hindi yon. Actually, yung light is coming from a small source and then it actually is being captured by the eye that allows it to magnify certain locations. Kaya nga di ba pag hindi maganda yung pagkakaliwanag sa isang lugar, kahit na anong gawin mong tingin, hindi mo makikita ng maayos. You have to bring the light source to that particular area. Parang sa ano yan eh, pag nagpatay ng ilaw, di ba? Pag nagpatay ng ilaw, yung mga lalaki nabubulag for 5 minutes. Hindi makakita kasi nga yung mata nila hindi makafocus. Unlike sa babae, pag biglang patay ng ilaw, biglang, I can see and I see you, 'di ba? Parang gano'n. Ang mga lalaki na, "Teka, teka asan na tayo? Teka ang dilim, hindi ko makita." Okay? So 'yan. Then you have also Abu Hanifa Dinawari. Siya naman po yung parang father of plant plant science, okay? So 'yan. So he actually wrote about different books on plants, medicinal growth and development of plants. Then you have here, wala na po kasi nakitang picture dito. So you have Al-Baikri. So siya naman yung sa cartography of Baghdad. You have Al-Biruni. Now he was also able to measure the radius of the earth using a new method. Now, yung method na yun is actually based on the height of a mountain which is Nandana sa Pakistan. So using the height of the mountain, nakuha niya yung radius ng planet. Then you have Al-Idrisi. So si Al-Idrisi is actually the one who created the map of the world of Roger. Okay? Which is Tabula Roheriana. Okay? So this was the first book. Okay? Then si Piri Reis naman, gumawa naman siya ng panibagong map. Okay? Then kinagsama-sama niya yung map from Greece, from Portugal, Muslim, and then meron din sinama rin niya yung kay Columbus. So gumawa siya ng bagong map ng pinagsama-sama yon. Now, in terms of other contributions, ito importante ito, yung clock. Yung sa kanila is Elephant Clock by Al-Jazari. Then you have also the spinning wheel. Okay. So yan, actually, similar to dun sa spinning wheel sa India. Meron din sa India kasing spinning wheel. And of course, coffee beans. Kaya nga, ang pinakamasarap na coffee beans for my, based on my opinion is Cafe Arabica. Yan. Ang bango-bango ng Arabica. Parang, pag inamoy mo, gising na gising ka na. Parang, ano yun eh, very flavorful yung Arabica. Yun nga lang, medyo expensive yon. Then, in terms of clothing, and you have now the aura. This is actually the cover for Muslim person for within the front when it's go in doing business. And then, sa babae, aside from covering the body, you have to cover the face kasi para sa kanila, ang face is reserved for their husbands. So you have the hijab. Although sa hijab medyo modern to, kitang-kita sa mukha. Places that allows hijab sa Philippines, Singapore, you have Malaysia as well. Yung niqab, meron din nakikita ko dito sa Pilipinas, meron ding burka. Mas pwede, eto kasi itong sa chador, parang lagi nakatali yan. Tas kimar din, pero mas na ito na common dito sa atin sa Pilipinas. Okay? So here are more pictures of people wearing the burqa. Yan. During the ancient times. Now sa lalaki, para silang may uniform. Actually, sa kanila, the tuab is more of both a uniform and a house dress. So kahit na, kumbaga parang ano to parang Amerikana na formal na informal. Okay? Yung para sa atin dito, it's more of, parang yung barong Barong pero hindi Barong is more formal. Sa kanila, the fob is both formal and informal for them. You can use fob anywhere. And if you want to make it more formal, magdalagay ka lang ng robe. Okay? Then, you have the agal, yung pantale, dun sa gutra, yung headdress. Usually, guys, sa iba't ibang bansa, iba't ibang pattern yan ng gutra. Okay? Doon mo malalaman kung taga saang bansa sila nagbebelong. Then here are more pictures showing women and men during the earlier times. Now, if you will notice, it's very common for them to wear long dresses. Bakit long dress, ma? Mag-init-init na sa kanila, di ba? Well, hindi porke mahaba is mainit, guys. Ang ginagawa niyan, they wear it as early in the morning. So, mangyayari dyan is parang kumukulob sila ng malamig na hangin na. Okay, malamig yan sa loob, sinasabi ko sa inyo. Kasi nga, since mahaba, hindi sila nakakalabas yung mainit sa labas. So, pag tinaas na nila yan, saka ngayon nawawala yung lamig sa loob. Parang silang merong built-in air conditioner sa loob lang. Usually, totoo yan, guys. Kaya mapapansin niyo, if you look on the other pictures here, they are all wearing clothes na maluwag, baggy, para ma-maintain nila yung lamig. Okay, so you have here pictures showing yung mga galing sa Iraq, Palestine, mahaba yung mga damit. And then also sa Afghan, sa India, yan, mahaba din. Kasi nga, as much as possible, yung hangin, ano 'di ba remember the concept also, hot air rises, cold air sinks. So, yung mga malalamig, syempre, nandun sa baba. Okay, so since hindi naman masyadong mataas yung damit nila, so yung lamig nandodo'n sa baba, nakakapasok, nakaka-circulate sa paanan nila. Okay? So yan. Any questions so far, guys, when it comes to ancient Indian and Arab civilization? Question po?
Wala
Question?
naman po, ma'am.
Wala.
Malinaw naman.
Okay. So with that, let me just show you some videos. Now, this is just a replay of the Iranian. Kasi nga, di ba sabi ko sa inyo that Iran is part of, is originally Persia and it has its own contributions. Now, wait lang ha. Ito na lang. Let's just watch this.
India has played a major role in the progress of civilizations for thousands of years. So in this episode, we're going to be exploring 10 surprising ancient Indian discoveries and inventions. Welcome back to another episode of FTD Facts. My name is Leroy Kenton, and yes, I